Here's a quick video of disassembly of a 2019 Parajet Maverick paramotor. This was after a Friday evening flight. The winds were really light and plenty of daylight left, but unfortunately it was a little cool, so I just completed an hour-and-a-half flight and was pretty cold at this point, so went ahead and called it an evening, even though I had a good hour or more of great weather remaining. Hagerstown was a great airport, 200 feet by 4,000 feet thick grass runway. Plenty of room to launch and take off and fly around it. I start by defueling the fuel tank. Picked up a little hand pump from Menards that allows me to pretty much get all the fuel out of the paramotor tank, and just makes it a little easier to move around. The other thing is, once it's in its carrying case, I may tilt it on one side or on its back or something, and the fuel cap is vented, so if you have much fuel in it, it does allow for a little bit of seepage and so forth. So always start with taking the fuel out, and then the next step is to pull the prop off. It was at this point I noticed I actually had a part that had failed, the quick lock pin and pulley on the right spar of the Maverick. It's a little assembly that allows for the starter rope to come up, enter the pulley, and gives it a path out of the safety net, so that when you pull on it, it doesn't put any pressure on the netting and cut it or cause any undue wear. How it's supposed to work, has a little spring tension. You press a button, allows two little bearings to collapse inside the rod, and the end cap comes off. You can quickly disassemble it, pull the rope through the netting to get the netting off. And yeah, everything looks in order, but for some reason, the ball bearings are engaging into the groove in the cap that lock it in place, but it's almost like, I suppose, the spring tension has just gotten weak, and just with moderate pressure it pops apart, and then that allows the pulley to slide off the pin, and then that rests on the netting, which would change the angle that you're pulling the rope. It basically would prevent an in-flight restart, at least without some damage to the safety netting. So Kind of got distracted, spent a fair amount of time kind of troubleshooting that. Finally determined just going to have to get a replacement part from Parajet and moved on after a few minutes. At this point, I finally stopped playing with the pin and determined it had failed. Nothing I could do in the field to fix it. And started disassembling the Maverick in earnest at this point. I'll reach down and just quickly start peeling off the rubber retainer for the safety net, and then quickly all the spars are just held on by the left and right. Two verticals just have a single pin apiece that you press in, and the titanium spars slide out and just quickly disassembles at this point. So paramotors are generally manufactured out of three materials, or a combination of those materials. Aluminum, carbon fiber, and indoor titanium. and probably one of the biggest decisions when you go to purchase a paramotor is, what material you want. The Parajet is virtually all titanium, and I just, it's been wonderful so far. It's extremely light, very strong, and I haven't had to utilize it yet, but I guess my understanding is it's not only strong, but if you do deform it, you can form it back to shape fairly easily without it getting distorted. And apparently aluminum, first of all, bends much easier, but then it bends back but distorts when you bend it back. And from what I read, the issue with the carbon fiber is, it just breaks, quite easily. Apparently it's fairly easy to fix, but it's also fairly easy to break, and the titanium's really held up well. Okay, and that's just about a wrap. Once it's in the package, just load it into the plane and I'm off. Wasn't really set up to do this as fast as possible. I was just taking a relaxing evening at the airport, enjoying the weather and kind of taking my time warming up after a long paramotor flight. So that's about it.